What's up, Dank homies? Dank Chicken Leg 1997 here, and today we're going to talk about the brand new Warframe, Gara. So Gara is the glass type Warframe. You can get this Warframe from completing the new quest that you can do in the Plains of Eidolon, and you get her parts from doing bounties. You can see the reward list when you do those bounties, and you'll know which part to get from which bounty. Now, no way, shape, or form is this Warframe a glass cannon, unless that cannon has glass that's like 300 miles thick. What I mean is this Warframe is a mega tank, and this is the best defense frame in the game, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. But now, without further ado, let's get right into Gara's glassy abilities. Gara's first ability is called Shattered Lash. What this will do is you will summon a sword that will jab into all enemies in front of her and knock them all down. But if you hold the ability down, you will spawn the same sword, but you will swipe it instead of just jabbing it forward. So if I just touch it, you'll see I'll knock them over like that. And if I hold it down, then I move them over to the side like this. Also, the ability's damage scales off of your melee weapon's mods. So you will probably want to mod your melee weapon to mainly damage because it doesn't proc anything, but you want to mod it for maybe like full-on corrosive damage and blast damage when going against Grenier and viral and so forth, depending on the faction you're going against. Gara's second ability is called Splinter Storm. Now, what you can do with this ability is pretty awesome, and this is what makes her a super mega tank. This ability will give you and your allies a 90% damage reduction. Not only that, but you can cast it on defense points like mobile defense points, normal defense points, and you can make the actual defense point take 90% less damage, which you can cast it on yourself like so, which some people don't really know. You just look down and cast it on yourself, and you can cast it on enemies, which I don't really recommend. It's kind of pointless. It doesn't do that much damage to enemies, but as you can see, I'll take not that much damage from these guys. Also, if you have a lot of range, it will push these guys so far back that they'll never be able to touch you ever. So it's like they're just pointless. They can't do anything to you. But it does give you a mega damage reduction as well as your teammates. But it does have a duration. But let's say you're annoyed with, oh, that duration goes away and I have to recast it. You don't really have to do that. Just use your fourth ability to restart the counter, like so. Now it's back up to 54 seconds. Gara's third ability is called Spectral Rage. I probably said that wrong, but I think that's how you say it. But what this ability does is you will spawn a ring of mirrors, and then enemies will see those mirrors and then go to the mirrors. They'll go to the mirrors. Now they'll go to the mirrors, and then they'll start shooting the mirrors and thus hurting themselves and then distracting them for just a little moment. But this ability is useful. I promise I'll show you why it's useful in just a little bit. Gara's fourth ability is called Mass Vist. The fourth ability. After casting this ability, a glass wall will appear, and it will continue to grow until you press the ability again or until the timer runs out. It will spawn a wall that will be there for a certain duration of time. It will reset the cooldown of your second ability, and enemies will not be able to walk through that wall, and enemies that go through the wall while you're casting it will actually be frozen in glass like so. Also, you're invulnerable while you cast this. So we got, okay, they can't shoot me through the wall. That guy is stuck there, but I can shoot through the wall. And a lot of people have this misconception thinking that you can't exactly shoot through this wall, but you actually can, which is pretty dope. And lastly, Gara's passive. Gara's passive allows her to radio blind enemies while she's standing in light randomly. So I'm standing in light, and see, look, they randomly got radio blind. So now they're all open to finishers, and I can just take care of them with ease. Don't you wanna tell me your name? Feels like you got a lot to say. So here goes my first build, the Protect build. This build is mainly focused on keeping yourself alive and your team alive and protecting a choke point or keeping down a mobile defense point or a normal defense point. I don't have very much range on this build because range kind of breaks this Warframe. She doesn't really need range at all. She only needs 130% power strength because 130% power strength will bring her to our max capacity of a 90% damage reduction, and efficiency at 130% because I don't want to reduce my duration at all because I really need duration for this build. Now for this build, I would highly recommend you bring the Reactor Dark Dagger with the brand new stance that just came out. I'll make a build video on that really soon. And also because of covert lethality, because of the passive that Gara has that opens enemies up to finishers, but also bring something that can dish out damage without the need of status effects, because when enemies are trapped by the glass, they no longer take status effects and they only take pure damage. So personally, I like to bring the Vectus Prime and the Ballistica Prime because of the really strong ribbons that I have for them. Now with this build, your job is to keep the defense point untouched. So for this example, we're gonna have this follower pet thingy here as the defense point, and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to cast it on myself, then I'm going to slide and cast it on my Helios, which is a thing you can do, then you're going to cast it on the defense point, then you're going to use your fourth ability so that all of it has the same duration, and then you just go about and killing anything that's in here, going out and killing anything that's out there, and then come back. Oh, duration's low, let me restart that, and then everything has their duration reset. You go back out and you rinse and repeat. Another helpful thing that you can do is after you spawn your fourth ability, you can actually take your third ability and spawn it right on the corner. That way half of the mirrors cannot be touched and the other half can. Then enemies will be right here constantly firing at the mirrors that they can't hit, and that will group them up together a lot easier. Now to show you guys what all this would look like together in an actual mission, I'm going to spawn a normal squad of Orcan enemies, and without further ado, let's see what she can do. There's one more guy here. And dead. For my next build, I call it the Yeet build. You'll see why I call it the Yeet build in just a little bit, but this build is mainly focused on the first ability, where we're going to need a lot of range and just a little bit of power strength, because that doesn't make too much of a difference, because all of the damage and everything is going to mainly be coming from the melee weapon that we bring, including range mods work as well on the first ability. And we basically don't need that much health because nothing's going to be able to touch us anyway, because everything's going to be on the floor or way up yonder. So as for my melee weapon, I'm choosing to bring the Sancti Magistar. Reason being is because the type of build that you would have for the Sancti Magistar for the healing is the perfect thing that you would use for Gara's one ability. So for this build, I'm built for Corrosive and Blast. And you'll see why I have the blast damage on here in just a second, and mainly damage mods and a primed reach. This primed reach also stacks with the first ability, and what you think you're about to see is exactly what you're about to see. Alright, he stands up to the home plate. He's concentrated. The ball goes, and it's a home run! Oh, and I forgot to mention, you can play pool with this as well. So let's line them up. Let's line up the 8-ball and... And lastly, the first ability does indeed work through walls, so you can see all the enemies on the other side of this wall here, and... I just love that so much. My final thoughts on this Warframe, I think this Warframe is just perfect. Like, especially during the last update that came where the 4th ability now grows downward as well. I think this Warframe is now better than Frost, maybe even Valblin, because this Warframe cannot just block enemies, but it can block enemies, stop them from continuing and going through the barrier, and freezes them in place, like Valblin's Bastille and like Frost's bubble with the augment. So like, as you can see here, that keeps on growing downward, and that's huge, and you don't even need it to be that big. And then if you just want to explode everything, you just do that. Everything here just died basically. She's also great for keeping your teammates alive, especially with her Splinter Storm ability, where now she takes 90% less damage. Her Helios takes 90% less damage, defense targets take 90% less her teammates, and then if she wants to refresh everybody's duration, just go like this. Like, that is just amazing. But can we jump the gun and say that this is the best Warframe in the whole game? No, definitely not. Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that this is the best Warframe in the game, but definitely the best defense frame in the game, and that's hands down. But that's all I have to say for today's video, and if you guys are looking for where the glyph codes are at, well, I'm mainly posting them on my Twitch page now, so if you guys want to check me out on Twitch, link is down in the description, and just be there whenever I'm live, and you will have a really high chance of getting a glyph code, because I give them away a lot on my streams. And again, that's going to be it for today's video, and if you guys enjoyed today's video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet and you want to become a part of the Dank family, then go ahead and do so, and I will see you guys later.
Is all you can be certain about. Don't change, don't change, don't change. Even though life ain't the same. Say, don't change, don't change, don't change. Life gon' make it happen anyway. I say, don't change, don't change, don't change. Even though life ain't the same. They say, don't change, don't change, don't change. But no matter what you do, gonna happen anyway. Hit me up on message.